Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, we are going to look at the whole saga between Duane Smith and Sean Azan. Now, it's alleged that Duane Smith, a JLP member of parliament, is indebted to Sean Azan. Apparently, Sean Azan lent him some money from 2015 to the amount of over 20 million Jamaican dollars, the sum of which he has not repaid to Sean Azan. Now, I am just saying that these are allegations. I'm not suggesting here that I know the facts. Remember now that a lot of what we hear coming out of Jamaica's media, we have narratives. And even so, I don't have raw data, raw proof to suggest that that is true. So I will use the words "it is alleged" or "these are the allegations" leveled at Duane Smith, who is the son of former Member of Parliament, JLP Member of Parliament, Derek Smith. So this is the Jamaica that we live in terms of, it seems to me that even our politicians don't like to return loans. We have a culture of dishonesty and a lack of integrity. And there was an interview which I shall be showing to you between Cliff Hughes and Duane Smith, the member of parliament who is being accused of not repaying Sean Azan. Our politics is so dirty that it is going to be very difficult to clean up the mess that we have made over the years. There are allegations also on the other side of the political spectrum that the same Cliff Hughes, who did a very fantastic job of interviewing Duane Smith, that he owes, through his nationwide, the Jamaican government, huge sums of taxes. But because he is on the side of the JLP, because he is an avid JLP supporter, it seems that the JLP has turned a blind eye. So the people on the other side of the political aisle, they are suggesting that if Mark Golding should win the election in whatever the election is called, that the Nationwide News Corporation will have a very difficult time because they're going to collect all the back taxes that he hasn't paid. Let's hope that is not true. And somebody should now have the temerity to question Cliff Hughes if that is so, because he's also a public personality, even though he's a private, corporation. But we understand that he is an avid supporter of the Jamaica Labour Party. And people are beginning to call them out. I understand that there's also a saga going on right now with the Lawrence Rowe and the People's National Party, in the sense that Lawrence Rowe was accusing the people in the constituency that he should have represented, which he was voted out of, that they had attacked him, that they had assaulted him. But I understand, based on, I don't know if it's camera revelations or eyewitnesses, it was he who was attacking the people, who was terrorizing or assaulting the members of the constituency. And it appears, again, it is alleged. I'm not suggesting now that the facts are there. Some of you think that we can speak and and you don't know the facts. But do you also know the facts? Because what we have coming out of Jamaica for the most part are rumors or allegations or speculations. And we have to be careful how we peddle these facts, these so-called facts, these speculations, these allegations. Okay? So what happened is that people on the other side of the political aisle, the political spectrum, the PNP members, are suggesting that nationwide, under the leadership of Cliff Hughes, has been using Lawrence Rowe to sort of spread a lot of negative image about the People's National Party. And I'm not suggesting that that is true, but we must not forget the interview that Lawrence Rowe had with Cliff Hughes, in which Lawrence Rowe became teary-eyed and suggested that he was treated unfairly by Mark Golding and Dayton, right? He mentioned that, and it was a very long and emotional interview that Cliff Hughes had with him last year. Remember that interview? I hope you do. Now, I understand that when the whole saga of the situation occurred in Lawrence Stowe's, the Lawrence Rowe's rather constituency, the constituency that he was supposed to have represented, that there was Cliff Hughes was trying to also interview him, or he also had a news story on Nationwide suggesting that Rowe was being assaulted by members of the constituency that he was supposed to have represented. But that was debunked. That story was debunked. So it seems to me that Cliff Hughes is, if he's doing that, if Nationwide is doing that, that is poor journalism. If they're trying to concoct stories that don't exist, falsify stories so that they can actually paint the PNP in a negative light, then that is dishonesty. And I think Cliff Hughes should be called out for that if he's guilty as charged. I hope that that is not true, because we know that much of what is coming out of Jamaica are rumors. So we can't believe anything that comes out of the mouths of Jamaicans. Nothing whatsoever, particularly our journalists and our politicians, because for the most part, our journalists are in bed with our politicians. This morning, somebody also responded to one of my videos, the one that I published, that Andrew Holness the JLP will win big, or Andrew Holness. Can't remember the title of the video. But she was saying that I am forked tongue, because she's suggesting that I did not mention anything great about Andrew Holness. And I was suggesting that Lisa Hanna would have been the better candidate. I did not say that. I have said on numerous occasions that neither the JLP nor the PNP party means Jamaica well. And I stand by that. They are there to represent the interest of their donor classes. If Americans are finding that out now, if the people in Great Britain are finding that out to be true, Canadians, and people, all Australians and people all over the developed nations are finding out that that is so, that their politicians are not sent there to represent the interests of middle and working classes, then what is going to happen in Jamaica? What is happening in Jamaica? Why can't we see that when we have been poverty-stricken for all the years? At least these countries, to a large degree, had some amount of prosperity. We haven't. We haven't had any prosperity, any years of prosperity since independence gained in 1962. Yet still, we can't understand that we still continue to support that plantation-based, that plantation-oriented economy and politics. We still continue to support the plantation-like politics because we love it. We love being slaves. So you want to force me now? Oh, you said that Lisa Hanna would have been a better candidate because of her beauty. I didn't say that. I said that she would stand perhaps a greater chance of winning, because that is what the politicians are there to do. They are there to win elections. They're not there to represent you. They're not there to build the economy. They're not there to build the infrastructure of Jamaica. That is what I said. So a person like a Lisa Hanna or Damon Crawford, and I also use Damon Crawford, but I reference Lisa Hanna to let you know that it's the bold and the beautiful and the celebrity style politicians that we like. Yesterday, there was a podcaster from the United States And she was Sabi, I can't remember her last name, but she revealed that the former press secretary of Joe Biden, that's Karine Jean-Pierre, and her having just now written a book that she's no longer a part of the Democratic Party because she thought that Joe Biden was treated unfairly. Now, she knew she was her secretary, so she had direct access to Joe Biden. She would have known that Joe Biden didn't have the physical capacity, the physical dexterity to discharge his job. She would have known that. But she prefers now because she wants money and she's making money from a book. She has now recently written a book about the fact that Joe Biden was treated unfairly. So she's leaving the party. So she's leaving the party based on a lie because people knew, even before the media houses are now acknowledging that Joe Biden was suffering from cognitive dysfunction, from cognitive decline. They knew, but they preferred not to let you know that, even though sensible persons knew that. Okay? Because it's all about the donor classes. And when the donor classes realized that he could not continue, then was when they changed Joe Biden. It was not because of the people's pressure. And they said, oh, you have to change Joe Biden. They don't respect the American people. And they don't care about them and their plight, their economic and social plight. They don't care. Now, you're talking about the richest and the mightiest nation in the world, and the politicians are not concerned about the people, the masses of Americans. What do you think will be happening in Jamaica? Here you have an economy that is struggling, has been struggling in Jamaica for the last 62 years or 63 years going, struggling. And every year, every election cycle is the same. The same promises are made and they are unfulfilled for the most part. Unfulfilled promises, yet Jamaicans' hopes have not been dashed. They continue to trust, to demonstrate implicit confidence and unwavering trust in the political system. And what is very troubling for me is that you are putting your faith in a personality. You are not looking at the system as a whole, but you're looking at personalities. And personalities are transient. They come and they go, but the system remains with you forever. And if it is not changed, it's going to be a system that it will eventually decay and send us right back on the plantation, on the physical plantation. Right now, we are on the economic plantation, the mental plantation, the education plantation, because all throughout the educational system in Jamaica, it's a plantation. It is a plantation from the University of the West Indies to wherever, all the high schools. We're not producing minds to think and to question and to have some amount of intellectual curiosity. We're not doing that in Jamaica. What we're doing in Jamaica is creating people who are conformists, who will conform to the system and who will not challenge the status quo. Because that suits the ruling class. Right? So my podcast is not going to be one in which you are going to hear what you want to hear, that I am JLP and I'm going to say that Andrew Holness is going to win. I will say if I see Andrew Holness is treading on a sort of path for winning in terms of his political dexterity, his political gamemanship, I will give him that credit. Not that I'm crediting him for taking care of the masses. I'm crediting him for his skill to maneuver the political landscape. These are two distinct things I'm talking about. Let me give you an analogy. I believe in God, right? I'm a creationist. I believe that God created the world in 7 days, in 6 days rather, and rested on the seventh day. I believe wholeheartedly in that. However, if I'm going to grade a student and one is arguing based on the creation story because he's a creationist, and let us say the other person, let us say that the other person is a lady, and she's arguing based on the evolutionist or the evolutionary theory, if the evolutionary theory presents more compelling arguments over than what the person who represents the creationist argument is presenting, I will have to make the evolutionary person win because I'm fair, even though I do not believe one iota in the evolution theory. I don't. But if that person presents compelling arguments, then I am going to say you are the winner because of the way he handled the topic. So because I suggest that Andrew Hollis or Mark Golding is going to win based on what the tide, based on the tide, the political tide that we're looking at now, does not mean that I want any of them to win. It only means that I can look at the politics, I can move myself away from personality preferences and look at what they're doing and how convincing and how compelling the campaign is. But having crafted a compelling campaign does not mean that you are going to be an effective politician. And that is what I was saying. And I did not say that Lisa Hanna was any effective politician or would have made. I think I even said that she would lead in the same way. But because of her beauty, and people love beauty, and let us really now be truthful to ourselves. People love beauty, people love money. So people who have lots of money, they will be seen in a better light than people who don't have loads of money. That is how the world is made up, right? That is what, and what we have now nurtured in Jamaica and around the world is this celebrity culture where even our politicians are now celebrities, and the social media platforms have not made it any better. In fact, it has worsened the situation because you want to see your politician every day and the optics that they present, and they present themselves to you as great people, as real celebrities, when they don't mean anything. It's a reality TV show. It's a reality TV show. It is not real. It has nothing to do with anything. All it has to do is with winning an election. And after they've won, it's over. It's over. And then they begin to play their nonsensical games. But let's get into Duane Smith and Azam. All right. I think I've spoken enough about that. Okay. And I can't say enough. I just have to leave you to your own thought processes. So we have here a suit filed against MP Duane Smith to recover over 20 million loan. A businessman, and this was written on June 4th, so it's recent. A businessman has filed a lawsuit against Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Northwest, Duane Smith, seeking to recover a personal loan in excess of 20 million Jamaican dollars he reportedly made to the lawmaker. Christopher Dunkley, the attorney for businessman Sean Azan, said the lawsuit is a replacement for a previous claim that was discontinued in the Supreme Court on Wednesday. The first lawsuit was discontinued because Smith, the first-term Jamaica Labour Party MP, asserted that he was never served with any court documents. So he seemed to be lying. I don't know. Quote, "We decided not to have an argument in court about that. We just focus on what Mr. Azan has come to court for, which is recover monies loaned to Mr. Smith," Dunkley told journalists outside the Supreme Court on Wednesday. He has never disputed the sums owed, the attorney added. Dunkley said that the loan was made some time ago and charged that Smith failed to fulfill numerous promises to repay. Smith left the court without speaking to journalists. His attorney also declined to comment on the lawsuit. And that is where it stopped for the Gleaner. They haven't gone to look at the pros and the cons, right? The truths and the lies and the facts. Because they're not about that. It's about he says, she says, right? It's all about gossips too for the Gleaner and the Observer, because that is what is sold in Jamaica. They know that people are not going to read any lengthy stories and they don't want to know the facts, they don't want to think. So just let me say, he says, she says, and we have a few podcasts and they shout and they carry on. And end of the day, 9-day wonder, we move on to the next scandal. That is how Jamaica is, right? That is how the country is run and governed, right? But people don't want to see that. Now, nationwide, which I found interesting that they would be interested in this story, given the fact. Sorry about that. I had to turn that off. Yeah, given the fact that I don't know why this is going on. Given the fact that, nationwide is so, what is coming on here? Let me turn this off. Given the fact that nationwide is so much on the JLP side, I thought that they would not have been interested in this story, but they are, and give them their credit for doing that. Documents show companies, this is from Nationwide, documents show companies owned by Duane Smith owe millions in loans. Millions. And that was written on June 5, 2025. So that was yesterday. Okay. Nationwide News has seen documents which purport to show that MP for Northwest St. Andrew, the JLP's Duane Smith, may have misled the public when he denied owing millions of dollars to a Kingston businessman. Smith, who's facing the prospect of a lawsuit over the debt, broke his silence on an issue that has dogged his career as a politician for several years. Speaking on Cliff Hughes online early on Thursday, Smith said he owed nothing to Sean Azan, the managing director of Zanaleo Limited. But Nationwide News has seen material which suggests two companies in which the first-term MP has a take is in debt to Sean Azan. Give Nationwide its credit, it has done some investigations here. The Gleaner did not. But Nationwide News has seen material, okay, I read that word. Duane Smith was unequivocal on the question of whether or not he owes millions of dollars to Sean Azan, his former friend. The issue of the debt was the subject of a lawsuit which the court dismissed earlier this week. Smith, who says he's bracing for a fresh legal attack from Azan's lawyers, was in a bullish mood when he spoke to Cliff Hughes earlier on Thursday. His message, he owes Sean Azan nothing. And yes, I thought that he was deflecting. Not sure he was bullish, but he was actually deflecting Cliff Hughes questions that were posed to him. When Cliff Hughes was saying, do you owe Sean Azan $20 million? Did you borrow $20 million from Sean Azan? He refused to comment directly and started to say, well, that would have already been asked of him, and he dealt with that at the highest level of the party, of the JLP party. It was just deflection upon deflection and not trying obfuscation after obfuscation, and an unwillingness to answer clear and direct questions that were posed to him by Cliff Hughes. And give Cliff Hughes his credit here, he did a fantastic job in interviewing Duane Smith. He asked him the hard questions. Let's now look at the interview between Cliff Hughes and Duane Smith, the accused of owing Sean Azan 20 million Jamaican dollars. I want you to listen carefully and keenly to this interview. Oh, I need to turn it off.
Let me ask you this. Is it true that Mr. Azan lent you approximately $103,000 for a business venture that you have not paid it back for over approximately 10 years.
Is that true? Today, it is not true. But again,
you did not. No, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, I'm asking. You notice I've been listening very.
I answered the question.
And I'm asking. No. I'm asking you. Did Mr. Azan lend you over $103,000 for pursuing a business venture that you have not repaid him? I'm asking you. I'm asking you, Mr. Smith. Were you and Mr. Azan in a business venture? I am asking you now. You have come here to clear your name.
Indeed.
Right. So I'm asking you now, at no time over the last how many years have you been the recipient of funds from who you called your friend at what time? Have you ever given Mr. Azan checks that were not dated and which later bounced?
All these questions that you're asking, were asked of me at the highest level in the party when I was being vetted to become a member of parliament.
At the highest level of the party? Meaning the Prime Minister, the General Secretary, the Selection Committee? What? Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith? You were asked these questions at the highest levels of the party. Are you there? He's gone. Can you try getting him back from him?
Apparently,
I was hearing him very well. Oh, he hung up the phone. Oh? What the hell is this? 21 minutes after.
Yes, he'll be coming back shortly. He came back and said that his phone had lost battery or the battery died. So that is interesting that Cliff Hughes is asking him direct questions about his borrowing or not the $20 million loan of which he's accused, but he's not willing to say yay or nay. That is how our politicians behave. And then they're going to say now he's giving this excuse that it has already been dealt with at the highest level of his party. And Cliff Hughes asked the very potent question, pivotal question. So when you say the highest level, do you mean that Andrew Holness, the General Secretary, or the whatever commission, the Service Commission, are they aware of, or did they rectify the problem? And he's unable to answer him. All right, so let us see how the interview continues.
We're still making efforts to reconnect with Mr. Smith, because I don't know what happened. Is the call dropped?
Let's just see if we can.
Good. Well, so my question to you was, you spoke of the questions I was asking. Sounded very much like questions you have been asked at the very highest levels of the party. And I zeroed in on that and asked if those levels mean the Prime Minister, the party leader, the General Secretary,
who is he talking to?
Selection Committee of the Labour Party.
So you're politically experienced now that I can't share Labour Party business publicly.
And these questions were asked of you.
All these questions are asked of me.
Since you came on this morning and the interview started, my phone is also burning out. They're the questions, yeah, that seek to suggest that you're not being truthful. Questions that suggest that you have issued several checks that have bounced to Mr. Azad. For example, put up on the screen for me these checks, yeah, that were issued. One to Sean Azad, yeah, $500,000.
What
drawn date? Yeah, date here. 14. This is the 14th of the 1st, 2020. 14th of the 11th, 2024. November last year, $500,000. But the check then says, hold on. It says payment countermanded by draw. You tell me.
A countermanded check is not a check that was bounced. A countermanded check is a check that means a stop payment was placed by me on that check. My behalf.
So what were you attempting to pay Mr. Azad last week when these checks were written? So why would you sign these checks and present them?
No. You need to ask him that. That's a question from Mr. Azad.
No, but your signature is on this.
No. Mr. Hughes, seen a check and you've actually
I've seen, let me tell you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these checks. All written in the name of Sean Azad, signed by what seems to be your signature. You told me only moments ago you issued those checks and then directed that they be stopped. Are you denying that you wrote these checks, Mr. Smith?
I already did.
No, you are denying that you didn't write these checks.
I already answered the question about what you asked me.
No. Could you tell me, for clarity, did you write these checks?
For clarity, I did not. I will not speak on this matter again because
you did not write these checks in November, one dated the 14th of November last year. Then if you did not write, hold on, Mr. Smith, if you did not write them, how then did you issue a directive to your bank to stop it?
Mr. Azad, and that's a question you have to ask Mr. Azad.
You did say earlier, Mr. Smith, that you were good friends with Mr. Sean Azad, didn't you?
I did say that, but that's a fact. We were good friends.
What caused the falling out?
That is not for public consumption.
Was it over money or financial issues?
No.
The falling out wasn't over business related?
No, it was not. But I've said people have never been in any business related. But again,
and he has never lent you any money.
Again, I cannot speak to what a pending case that may come in the future.
It's not a pending case. He has never had money. You know,
I answered the question on the first call before I got disconnected. I answered the question already. No. Thank you for your time. You have any more questions for me, Mr. Hughes?
No. That's it. And thank you for rejoining us.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. And all the best. Time for the break.
So this is a sort of deflection from our politicians.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Let me...
That is not true.
Let me turn it off. Yeah, let me turn this off. Yes, so this is a sort of deflection that comes from our politicians. The dishonesty, the lack of integrity, the obfuscations, and yet still they want us to speak the truth. And if we had been guilty or culpable, then we would have to suffer the consequences of the law. But they shouldn't, because they have contacts and connections, and they can do whatever they want to do. And look at the fact that these men, one a politician, well, I don't know if Duane Smith himself is a businessman, because I understand also from another source, not sure if that also can be verified, that information can be verified, that the government of Jamaica, that's the JLP government, gave Duane Smith billions of dollars of contract to provide food for can't remember the name of the institution that he was given money to provide food for. So these people get their contracts. So when they're telling you that, oh, they're not earning enough money in Parliament, they're not telling you that they are the recipients of huge sums of contracts coming from taxpayers' money. That is what they won't tell you. So if they're getting even $2 for their salaries, it's a lot, because that is not their real salary. Their real salaries come from the fact that they are in connection with the financiers and with the fact that they also have direct access to the public purse and to state contracts. And they often dish them out to these people. And that is why you won't see good roads, because these people control the contracts and they're there to make money and to put the majority of that sums of money into their bank accounts to enrich themselves. And then they say to Jamaicans, well, vote for us again. And Jamaicans are idiotic enough to say, yes, we will vote for you because we believe in you, even though they're bilking the state of large sums of money. But here's a man, and there's another video that was questioning, how is it that Duane Smith, who is the recipient, has been the recipient of billions of dollars of government contract, is not able to pay Sean Azan the money that he borrowed from him, amounting to 20 million or over 20 million Jamaican dollars. And seems to be defiant. That is the impression I'm getting, that he's defiant. He doesn't want to pay it. But my understanding is that he is an alcoholic and someone who likes to gamble. So he might have gambled his contracts and those huge monies that he got out while Jamaican people are suffering. Jamaican people are starving. Students cannot find money to send back their, well, parents cannot find money to send back their children to school, to buy their uniforms, their books, their bags, and all the necessities that a child needs to go back to school. Yet we continue to waste government money. And if this story had not been divulged to the Jamaican people, then we wouldn't hear about a lot of these things, about the contracts that he had received, that Duane Smith had received. But it takes stories like these. Now, it's interesting to note that perhaps Sean Azan can challenge Duane Smith in the courts because he has some amount of leverage, right? He has financial leverage and perhaps political leverage also in the courts. The ordinary man on the streets, from which governments continue to steal, be they PNP or JLP, we have no leverage. We have no leverage. We just have to take whatever they dish out to us. Right? We just have to do it. If ever even we know it, because they're not truthful to us, and the journalists, the media house in Jamaica, the media houses in Jamaica, fail to give us an account, an honest and transparent account of what is happening in Jamaica's parliament. They fail to do that, right? Yet still people want me to say the Andrew Holness government is excellent. You want me to say that? No, I will be able to say that he will win because I'm unbiased. And if I see Mark Golding heading in the winning direction, I will say that to you. Now, does it mean, therefore, that even though he seems to be on the winning path, that he cannot lose? Yes, he can lose too, because politics is not predictable. It's an unpredictable game, just like you watch a sports game, and it's a sports game. Usain Bolt is the fastest athlete, right? The fastest 100 meters and 200-meter runner in the world, right? It doesn't mean, therefore, that if he were running still, that somebody wouldn't beat him eventually. And during his tenure in the sport, people beat him, right? And even though we thought he was going to win, he didn't win in a few cases, right? So that is what I'm suggesting to you. We do not know who is going to win, but just like a game of gamble, a casino game, a chess game, a sports match, you are going to bet based on the physique, based on the level of training of the athlete, that that person stands an excellent or good chance of winning. It's the same thing with politics. It doesn't mean, therefore, that the person is going to win or the person might not lose, because these are chances. There is no guarantee that because maybe just the day before the sports match, the athlete doesn't feel well or might have an injury, might have sustained an injury. Lots of other factors which could contribute to that person losing, even though that person was the best person or is the best person at the game. So that's what the politics is about. So don't come and attack me that I am JLP, or because I say JLP is going to win, it means therefore that I am pro JLP. No, it's because I'm looking at what is happening in the on the political landscape. And I'm suggesting, based on what I see, that Andrew Holness has mastered the art of the deal, and he's able to sell himself in a compelling way that will convince Jamaicans that he is the better of the two candidates. But it's not that he's the better. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Jamaicans will determine that. But if he's selling himself, just like how if a person should write an essay and they have compelling arguments to suggest that the evolution theory is the theory of human existence and of life forms on the earth, even though I'm a creationist, I will have to mark and give that student a higher grade than the one who might write an essay on the creationist story, but does not present and does not use as stylistic and elegant language that the student who wrote about the evolution theory might have employed, right? And that's what I'm saying. So don't come down and attack me. We are looking at this political system that it is corrupt to the core. There is no other way to say it. There is no other way. We can't begin now to deny. We can't continue, I should say, to deny the fact that our system is a corrupt one. And look at the way this man was behaving in the interview and how recalcitrant, defiant he was. He was willing to lie, right? And to propagate half-truths to the Jamaican people. But the diehards, those who think that their GLP will say the PNP is painting a bad picture of him, and they're not going to look and say, let's call a spade a spade. This man does not seem to be a man of integrity. They're not going to do that, because if they should do that, then it's going to weaken the image of the JLP party, and the JLP party might lose the election. And it's all about winning. Yes, it's all about winning, but at the end of the day, are you the one winning? Or are the politicians and their financial donors the one winning? That is the question you have to ask. That's the question I will leave you. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform.